The movement changes to certain legends in Season 16 make for movement moments we have never seen before in Apex. But while investigating them, I found some side effects that are either very nice, just weird, or make them worse than before. Let's talk about it. First, Wraith. She can now place her portal twice as far as previously. But way more important for us movement nerds, she gets faster while placing her portal. She starts at 364 velocity, then goes to 414 and finally hits 468 velocity. That last 468 is the fastest legend speed boost we have ever had in the history of Apex. Octane's Stim, the second fastest, only gets up to 420, meaning if you do any type of other movement tech on that last speed boost, it gets quite ridiculous. Wall bounces just look absolutely bonkers, and this enables Superglides that have never been possible before. Here I should mention that the additional speed boost you get from phasing while placing her portal also still exists, and that the 364 velocity when starting to place her portal is the same as it was before her buff, meaning her ability to portal cancel Superglide is also still 100% there. But the speed boosts don't work like you might think, or maybe even how Respawn have intended them. From the patch notes it says the speed increases over time. But since her Rift energy is not time-based, but based on distance traveled, it feels like having her speed increase based on Rift energy makes the most sense, increasing at 66 and 33%. But that's not what happens. The speed increases are based on straight line distance from portal start. So the first increase happens at 50 meters and the second at 100. So if you stay within 50 meters from your portal start, you will never get any speed increase. And if you take a slight detour and never get further than 100 meters away, you won't ever get the second speed increase. But it gets weirder. While Rift energy is calculated on horizontal distance traveled, the speed increases are calculated on straight line distance from portal start, which results in this strategy. Starting the portal of a balloon, landing with 97% of your portal left, because you traveled nearly no distance horizontally, but already being on the last speed increase, because the portal start is now more than 100 meters away from you. This also means that jumping off high buildings or mountains pretty much gives you the second speed boost instantly. This feels so unintuitive based on how the portal has worked so far and how it's worded in the patch notes. But at least you understand it now. Let's see if they change it. You should change from being unsubscribed to subscribed for more juicy movement content. On to Pathfinder. Riding his zipline is now 66% faster than previously. It jumps from 600 velocity to now 1000. To indicate this and differentiate his zipline from the ones in the map, Pathfinder Zipline now have a different shader on them. I was hoping that the speed increase would also influence 45-degree dismounts. If a zipline is steeper than 45 degrees, you get an extra speed boost when you ride it all the way to the end. But instead of having the new increased velocity, also add to that dismount and make it even faster, they implemented a new speed cap of 800. Previously it could go up to 950, and without the speed cap we would have hit speeds of 1200, resulting in mega yeets. But with the speed cap it's worse than before. While jumping off the zipline you get a speed cap of around 500. So the 800 velocity speed cap was deliberately put in place for these 45-degree dismounts. It said in the patch notes that they are adjusting acceleration and exit speeds. I was just hoping it didn't mean this. And you can see a trend here, cause they also made it so he can't place his ultimate in out of bounds areas anymore. So it seems like they specifically targeted across mountain 45-degree dismount rotations. Meaning for those situations, Pathfinder's now even less of a contender to Valkyrie than he was before. But while experimenting a bunch with his zipline, I think I figured out ways to circumvent or play around some of the exit speed nerfs. I'm pretty sure now that his new zipline is just a zip rail from Broken Moon as an ultimate. The major indicator for this is that you now carry all your previous momentum into the zipline, up to the maximum velocity of 1000. That has never worked before on ziplines and was not in the patch notes for Season 16, but is exactly how zip rails on Broken Moon work. This would mean that the grapple dismount we discovered on zip rails should also work here. And it does. This way you get to keep all the juice from the 1000 velocity. Right now I'm not sure what exactly triggers it. Looking straight down and not disconnecting the grapple with a crouch seems to work very consistent, but I've also gotten it to work by grappling geometry nearby. But that seems to be way more inconsistent. The best bet I have is that you need to stay attached to the grapple for a tiny bit. If you cancel it with a crouch immediately, it doesn't seem to work, but staying attached for too long will also slow you back down. So if you do it correctly, you grapple, slow down to 900 and then accelerate back up to 1000 while still attached to the grapple, and then disconnect it before it can slow you back down. Please feel free to play around with these grapple dismounts on Pathfinder Zipline now. I'll make sure to post about it on Twitter and my clip channel if I figure out more about it, so follow and subscribe to both of them. Another sad change is that his zipline now has a much smaller minimum range, meaning you can no longer place it onto tiny buildings to use it as a grapple alternative while that's on cooldown, and using them as instant super jump platforms is also a bit harder now. I know that the new speed, together with the massive range increase, is an overall huge buff to Pathfinder, especially in the sense of Apex being a team game. If you haven't seen the clips yet, it's entirely possible to zipline onto balloons, get another zipline before landing by scanning a care package, and get absolutely ridiculous rotations out of it. But I can't help but notice how Pathfinder got nerfed in how aggressive you can play him in micro situations. Because Seer's passive now takes longer to activate, it's harder to spam it in between slide jumps to not get the slowdown penalty from it. And Lifeline doesn't get as much of a slowdown while reviving, which is nice, but if you were already using the slide trick that nullified that slowdown entirely, nothing much changes. On to Horizon. Her lift now raises you up 10% faster, while increasing your weapon spread the further up you go. For us, this means that using her lift as a warm-up jump pad by throwing it at your own feet is now a bit more effective, but also using the trick of backing out of it to walk through it when it's blocking a door is now a bit harder to time. But honestly, for movement, not much changed. On to Vantage. Vantage had something called Vantage bouncing, where with a particular setup you could get flung into the air while using her tactical. That was almost entirely useless besides going for trick shots, so of course it was patched. And the door launch that was recently discovered was also removed. It no longer works with any methods we have known so far. Seer's ultimate, Crypto's drone and Mirage decoys all get destroyed now instead of blocking the door. Even worse, I think they're only supposed to push you to the side now, but they crush you quite consistently as well. Sliding doors don't do that. For example, this happened to Wardsey from Team Moist just yesterday. To brighten your mood a bit, the targets in the fire range can now be changed in speed, and you can grapple them or even wall bounce off them. Combine this with moon boots and have some fun. Okay, bye!